deemed the celebrity whisperer by Playboy.
This is the best interview of the day.
Thanks for having me.
You hit the nail on the head.
100%.
Period, yeah.
Touch them. They're cracking me up.
Wear them, baby. She's good.
Taylor Ferber.
Okay, so until we Irish exit out of this simulation that we are stuck in that none of us signed up for, guys, we are stuck with this mess. Okay, as we know, it is a pretty heavy time. Okay, we have a president who has a Parkinson's doctor as his best friend summer camp pen pal, apparently, who has like the angel of death visiting the White House every day. We have wars overseas in Ukraine, Russia, in the Middle East, Israel, Gaza, right? And I here in Nashville have the lovely joy of having like white supremacy neo-Nazi marches on my head, which is great to hear as, you know, an Italian female Jew. I mean, just like what a time that we're having, right? So today we are going to keep things a little bit lighter. And what is lighter than identity politics? No, but we actually are. We're going to revisit a little bit of OG Talk to Me Taylor style regarding like pop culture news, a little bit borderline cancel culture, and as always, go somewhere, you know, unlike this sad time we're living in that apparently is just going into pits of death and despair. Okay. But on a lighter note, no, it is actually kind of crazy because I often poke fun at our shameless society because our name something more shameless. Like I will wait. Is it hello? Is there anyone here? Is it Biden's Parkinson's doctor? Like name me, sir. Is there anything more shameless than a TikTok influencer in this society? No. But you know what I realized in prepping for this episode is that we are also not shy of shame. Okay. We're shameless. And we're also guilty of throwing on the shame. Like it is a Met Gala ball theme. All right. And it just ain't it. So first up at bat today, you guys may have heard this story. Okay. About Duke Medical School. I posted this to my Instagram story and some of you literally respond. You were like, Taylor, this can't be real. I said, it is real. I read it and it can't be unseen. So I'm going to save you, okay? I'm going to save you a couple minutes of your life and recount what said article said and what it all means. But basically, there was an unearthed program from Duke School of Medicine in 2021 that was trying to combat white supremacy and racism. And this is not, like, this is again where they just go too far and they miss the mark and are shameless. Like this ain't it. Like this is not the neo-Nazis marching on Broadway, like not to go do belly shots, but like to have, you know, they have some other prerogative. This is just a joke. Okay. So in their effort at the time, I'm reading this verbatim, dismantling racism and advancing, they cleverly, like it is, you know, a game of Scrabble. They cleverly rearrange DEI or not so cleverly. So it's advancing equity, diversity, and inclusion. Okay. So not diversity, equity, inclusion. No, we're doing a whole nother initiative here, people. They will never catch on us. You know, I say this often lately in this reboot of the show, but like we're dealing with the Duke School of Medicine, you know, like this is some HMO, you know, Planned Parenthood in like Timbuktu. Like this is you again, like you guys are supposed to be smart. I feel like this has to be the new tagline. Like you guys are supposed to be smart. But anyway, they decide to mix up and try to do like an undercover DEI by changing two of the words, but this is straight up DEI. Okay. But the craziest thing about this is they really were so proud of themselves. Like the dean at the time, who was this white woman, I don't know if she's still the dean of the School of Medicine over there. She thought this was the best thing since sliced white bread. Too soon to throw it away. All right, fine. I get it. Okay. But basically they were really trying to tackle like unearned and unanswered, advantages that white people have that we just all have to live by. All these rules they just made up arbitrarily, okay? Including being on time.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
Amongst other things such as dress, speech, and apparently there was other terminology that was super negative that white folk use, okay? Like those crackers out there using all the live long day out there on the farm in 1880. No, but yeah, this is really just something special for a number of reasons. One, because it talks about, again, all of these unpressed, unanswered, unearned advantages white people earn, i.e., being on time and you're pursuing a career in medicine. I can't help but wonder, so is it racist to be on time for a surgery, a life-altering, life-saving surgery? Or is it just like la-di-da, I stroll in whenever I want? Why? Because white people said otherwise. So yeah, fuck you. If I'm getting an open heart surgery, I want to know that the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted and everything is going to plan. I mean, call me crazy. But further, this is where the shame game comes in, okay? And where Duke is to blame. I'm just a poet who knows it. I don't know what else to say. I miss my calling. Okay. Isn't it racist to assume that people of color can't and shouldn't and won't be on time? Like, that is the identity politics of all of this, right? Oh, it's assuming people of color are going to dress a certain way, act a certain way, speak a certain way. Again, can't show up on time to things professionally. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm just a white girl from Connecticut, but if I'm a black person, i.e. Jeffrey Wright in American fiction or what I'm about to talk about, I'm going to be like, excuse me, question, what are you implying here? So that is the shame in that game, right? And that in and of itself is pretty shameless because what are you implying? So it got me thinking, like revisiting all of this crazy. It got me thinking about a couple things, right? How number one, DEI should just stand for demise and the rest of the letters in the word demise just don't matter. Right? These people already messed it up anyway and rolled with it. So will we, okay? How DEI, we see it everywhere. And I've on the show, I've tried to like give the benefit of the doubt and be like, okay, I could see where, giving opportunities to people who may be disadvantaged, this, but this is where it gets out of control because if we're going to put somebody in the obligatory token category, is this really the move? Like, do you want to shit on meritocracy that much? Do you want somebody fresh out of the gate flying your plane, doing your dental work, doing whatever surgery, okay? So you come out lopsided, with two different titties, like just for the sake of how they look or their skin color or their ethnicity. It's how degrading. Again, it's like the shame, right? And even I joked last time, but even like the Kamala Harris DEI hire, I'm sorry. First of all, she called Joe Biden racist like 5 seconds ago. Now they're buddy doing skip diddy do my darling down the White House halls while he's awake. I mean, it's out of control. It's all such lip service, right? I mean, think about, I know in a recent episode, I talked about the Taraji P. Henson skit she did for the BET Awards. It honestly was insulting. It was so pandering to Black people. And Kamala Harris is like, girl, I'd be out here in these streets. Kamala, what streets are we referring to here? Are we referring to the streets in your private plane on Capitol Hill in the White House in your pantsuit with Secret Service? Like, what are we talking about? Just imagine for 5 seconds, Kamala Harris being dropped out of a UFO, the one we wish we were all leaving Earth on, in her pantsuit in the middle of an actual hood. Just imagine that. So it's all so ridiculous. And it even got me thinking, I know I've been referencing this a lot lately, but it got me thinking a lot about Atlas Shrugged. Would you guys, if you don't have the patience, I know we're all ADD, at least watch the movies, okay? At least watch the movies, like try to keep up. But it really got me thinking about how all of this is such a concerted effort for outcome and not actual progress, right? In that case, it's sort of similar, but in that case, it shows you the contrast between socialism and capitalism, but it really is stopping on progress and taking away from progress just merely for the sake of giving and sharing, quote, the burden and giving to other people. And it actually really forfeits true achievement and success because it's almost just like leveling everybody out for the sake of it. And it's not my jive. Like, it is not my jive. We are not a participation trophy advocacy group here, right? So it got me thinking though about a couple other things. So you may remember some of the OGs. You may remember when I interviewed the director of that documentary in 2022. Funny, right after this Duke Medicine School 2021 pamphlet, if you want to call it, program came out. But I interviewed the director of Deconstructing Karen. And basically, it highlights an organization. And let me tell you, this organization gets money from namely rich white liberal women to go to this expensive dinner and hear how awful they are and hear about their white fragility and hear about how much they suck. But this movie in particular was spotlighting and, documenting like a sit down dinner that they had.
So I want a show of hands of everyone at this table who is racist.
Oh my God.
But it really is so insane because I remember saying to Patty, the director at the time, there is a little bit of self-awareness. Like, I remember a line in the movie saying like, oh, white liberal women, da da da. So it's like, okay, I guess you're self-aware, but actually not really, because like you think you're doing a service, and this whole thing is quite frankly insane, right? Because I've said this before, but how is it actually helping our day-to-day society? Because my bigger point with all of this is that you often find the people who should be the most bent out of shape, whether it be Black people, whether it be Asians or women or Jews or whoever it is that day, are the least bent out of shape. They're like, why are you doing the most, right? So that's kind of the irony of all this, is like, even with comedy and jokes, like the people who should care often don't. So it's just really all absolutely absurd. And so it got me thinking about American Fiction, which you guys have to see, that I just referenced before, with Jeffrey Wright. It's really good. It's a satire, dark comedy, dare I say Black comedy. And it's all about, Jeffrey Wright plays a screenwriter, or he's a novelist really. And he grew up in this affluent, New England kind of like Cape Cod town. And he's really frustrated because he's this intellectual, he's a great writer, and he's really frustrated that the only thing that breaks through, again, it's this kind of like white guilt thing, were stories from Black creators about like hardships or, drugs or crime or being in prison and violence. And he's like, this is all complete nonsense, right? So I really love that movie. And it's it's a really genius take, but a riff on this entire, societal, craziness that's happening right now in real life. But I highly recommend. So with that being said, it's like a couple things here, right? Are we actually doing anything that makes any substantive real progress? Or is this just nonsensical lip service? Are we really being that self-aware? And also, bear in mind, again, I feel like the people at the brunt of the joke, at the brunt of the initiative, whatever it is, are often like, we didn't ask, right? But that's not always the case. So basically, everybody's offended. It's the moral of the story, right? Which brings me to Zoe Kravitz. Okay. Zoe Kravitz, she is a badass bitch. She's so hot. She's such a great actress. And obviously super smart. So poor Zoe here, okay, is the victim of a kind offended by their own kind, okay? So turns out it just goes around and round, guys. Like, you cannot escape. It is coming for you. Just call up Fauci, because he's ready. He's ready for his next mission and to nip the next, roundabout in the bud. Okay. So Zoe Kravitz recently came out in an interview, and she talked about how she's working on her big directorial debut that she also co-wrote, and it was called Pussy Island, but she had to rename it to blank twice. Now listen, speaking of the Irish exit earlier, in light of the story, I tried to blink twice. I repped the phone that is my genie bottle. I tried all I could to get out of here, but none of it worked. Okay. So I'll spare you that effort. Okay. Next time, though, I'm going to try something else. Okay. To get us out of this godforsaken place. Jesus fucking Christ. Okay. So here's a little bit of the premise about her movie. It's starring Channing Tatum. And it's basically, he plays this kind of like CEO billionaire tech lord who gets a cocktail waitress to come with him to a private island where there are more sinister things at play. I don't want to go as far as to say it's a la Epstein, but that's kind of what it alludes to, right? But I tell you all this because the reason that Zoe Kravitz was going with this name was because it actually, in her mind, had a really pro-women message, right? Of women really reclaiming that word and making it their own. And she even says this was supposed to be on purpose, and really poignant to show that men could get away with calling an entire island Pussy Island, and that we are in the illusion that we are out of that time. So again, really driving the point home, really women forward. I assume in the movie, women like take control of the narrative and win the day and all the things, right? And reclaim the word. But I hate to tell you that, like my underboob sweat that is happening right now, that I pray to God is not showing up on this high def Sony camera. Okay. This is why we can't have nice things. Okay. Because Zoe did some research upon her movie making magic, and she found that women were actually really offended by using the word pussy as the movie title. And Zoe even went on to say that people just aren't ready for it. I thought it was actually like a forward message. And I gotta be honest, this to me is like super rock star. Like this isn't woke pandering lip service. I actually was like, that's actually really provocative and in your face and cool. Let's not forget Zoe Kravitz was also Catwoman in Batman. So like she knows badass. Okay. Period. And she's like, people just can't handle it. So she ended up going about this whole roundabout thing of how now she loves the name and she's more concerned, like money speaks, babe. Like you talk about capitalism, let's talk about capitalism. How she's more concerned with people just seeing the movie than getting freaked out by the title. So she's happier with the title now, blah, blah, blah. And it makes me sad for a number of reasons. I mean, like what doesn't make us sad in today's society? But it makes me sad for a number of reasons. Number one, because as a creative and as a writer myself, she explained that the process, she co-wrote this film, and she explained that in the process, the name Pussy Island was one of the first things she wrote when sitting down to write this movie, and how it really is the heart of the film and how it really is the sort of like crux and captures the entire thing and kind of now like waters it down with like, but it's still, the essence of it and the spirit of it is there. But it's like, again, why we got to ruin anything good? Why can't we have nice things? Okay. But I mean, like, this isn't Elon Musk. Like, Elon Musk chooses to not, like, Elon Musk chooses to couch surf despite being the richest man in the world. Okay.
Love Taco Bell, and I also love fine dining.
We don't want to be couch. We want to have nice things. Okay. So this is self-inflicted. I hate to tell you. The sad part is, I don't know about you, men, women, whoever it is out there, like this lovely sign that this man made for me. Okay. Inanimate objects, if you will. It's lovely Talk to Me Taylor sign. The name Pussy Island makes me want to go see the movie, right? Because it has that edge. But further, why are women the ones offended? Like, why are women offended by their own selves and their own anatomy?
Why, God, why?
I need answers. I need answers immediately. And I will sit here in this red chair that internet haters and trolls call tacky despite all of its glory. I will sit here and wait for answers because this is just nonsense. And aren't we all on a mission to destigmatize the P when it's been all about the other P for as old as the tale of time, as the land before time? Since Jesus and his P walked on water. And yes, Jesus had a penis, get over it. But we see dicks here, there, and everywhere, especially in film, dick jokes, this, that. Remember when I had Cork Crandall on my show, the writer of Old School? He was promoting a new show. And it was so funny because when he was on my show, in Old School is iconic, right? The streaking scene with Will Ferrell.
Good streaking!
But there was a dick joke thing, and Court Crandall was all like, "Oh, like, can I say that? I don't know." And I said, "Court, we love a dick joke here, right?" And he was all relieved. But this very thing of dicks are not only always talked about, joked about, it's fair game, whereas women are taboo. They're worshipped. Any dude is like, "I'll join the big dick club. Let's go." Jason Segel and or his body double shaking his full-blown dong and forgetting Sarah Marshall. Like, guys are proud and they're like, "I will happily join that club. Let's go." Whereas women, it's still this like hush hush taboo thing. "Oh no, we're offended. Oh no, this." And at Zoe's point, do you want to claim it and take ownership of it or not? I mean, I hate to say it may be a little too soon, but quit being a little bunch of pussies. Two on the nose? Two on the nose? Okay, well then grow a pair and grow a pussy. I mean, seriously, it really is ridiculous. But I have to say, besides the fact that like men are all proud and it's, it's fair game with them. Speaking of Zoe, okay, one of my not finest moments in journalism. This is not my finest, piece of literature or journalistic work. But when I was at VH1 way back when, I actually wrote a piece. I don't know if you guys remember this, but one time Lenny Kravitz was performing and his pants split open and ding dong, there it came out. And I wrote a piece joking about the fact that I just was surprised at what I saw because Lenny Kravitz is this big rock and roll sex god icon, larger than life figure. And then there's this like, a little peewee. And so people at the time, not so much at the time, because people weren't as sensitive, but like even now, and people have unearthed this was years ago, right? Maybe 10 years ago, people were saying like, it's body shaming, like don't do that, da, da, da. And now I will say this is all about growth, right? Which is what this entire shameless culture, cancel culture, all of it is incapable of, is growth. Now, if it was shaming, and if it was, I don't want to be penis shaming, okay? So, every P and every V is just gorgeous. You go and you go and live and thrive, okay? But if I was penis shaming, I stand corrected, and that was not okay. Like bad Taylor. I will go in timeout. But all that goes to say, I'm more concerned I'm concerned with everybody. Like, I want everyone to be happy here. But I am more like, well, I don't want to be penis shaming. I don't think that's cool. Nobody should be penis shaming. I am more concerned with this whole weirdness we have around pussies and women shaming their own. Like, it's weird. I'm more concerned with that. But all this goes to say before I start wrapping up here, and I would happily wrap up with Lenny, in any which way, in any form he chooses to show up, by the way. Let me not confuse that. Like, don't get that misconstrued and twisted. But it also reminded me of how, the Lenny Kravitz thing aside, and we're going to get to body shaming and all that in the next kind of segment here. But last kind of cap on this and thoughts on this when it comes to the Zoe Kravitz thing is it reminded me of when I went to the Birds of Prey set, the Harley Quinn spinoff movie that Margot Robbie, I think she wrote, but she directed and obviously starred in it. And I interviewed her and the director and all these people on the set. And what I revisited it today, and what really stood out to me is how Margot Robbie and the director were so proud of being like balls to the wall, if you will, and in your face about it, right? Saying that it was so bold. And this even is coming under, and I know the whole Suicide Squad thing is to like give no fucks, but it really is hard to be bold when you're under such a constraint of big studios and conglomerates because they're watching everything like a hawk. We know that. And even still in that environment, they went out of their way. For example, one of the opening scenes, the lead cop, who's a woman in the movie, is wearing the shirt that said, "I shaved my balls for this," because it's a whole story, but they lose their clothes and she finds it lost and found, right? So even like the irony of that and owning that on its face, like right out of the gate, that real boldness in going there. And so that's why I wish Pussy Island was here to stay. But you know what? RIP, it never lived and it'll be in our memories. So last up here is Lena Dunham, who did, this is going to be super short, but basically she did a new interview. And listen, I typically rag on Lena Dunham because she too has been bitten by the mind disease that is wokeness. But I had to say in this realm and in this regard, I feel, this is shitty what you say, I feel for her and I get what she's saying. So she did a new interview. First up, she talks about why she's not directing the Polly Pocket movie. She was initially starting to write and was supposed to direct for Mattel on the heels of Barbie. And she explains why she's just plainly not really feeling it. She, said she wanted it to be kind of like kitschy, like Barbie. It's the same studio, right? But moreover, she references her icons, some of my icons too, and influences like Nora Ephron, Nancy Myers, and how they always said, if you're not like, go all out. Like it's your party and you can cry if you want to, kind of, but not really. But don't let them rain on your parade. All those Barbara Streisand cliches. And she was like, I just wasn't really feeling it. I'm not going to kind of like half-ass it and, lukewarm do it. Like I want to really be feeling this project, right? So who knows what actually went on there? Who knows if it was some, being on the heels of Barbie, if it was some like feminist messaging stuff going on. I don't know. Who knows? But
It was horrible. Why?
she also said in this interview, which she is working on, are two Netflix shows. I think they're kind of similar to Girls, her big HBO show, but the idea of like women in New York City and da-da-da and this and that, right? But she talks about why she is never, at least not in this moment in time, going to go naked like she did in Girls, right? Remember in Girls, she was kind of like nude all the time on screen. And she said at the time to people who criticized her that it was a reflection of real life. Like, this is how real life is. Okay, we take our clothes off, we have sex, we, whatever it is. And understandably, she said that it was really traumatizing, right? Because people were nitpicking her body. And even now, she's gained a little bit more weight. And that is just a really shitty thing to do, right? Because people are going to go on there and criticize and say, why you look like this, you're this, you're that. Why are you getting naked on screen? We don't want to see this. I read that one time someone in a press conference or somebody asked her about being naked and she kind of quipped, you don't have to watch it if you don't want, but if you don't like it, like that's you to work out with a professional, right? And at first it seems like that's just kind of like a defense mechanism, ego talking, but I could get it. It's like a place of hurt, right? And so what if somebody's, put on a little bit of extra weight here, doesn't look as good as they want to be on camera out in public here? It's like, why do we got to criticize and why do we have to shame them in this way? Right? Again, all in these, I hate to say it, but identity politics. And sadly, we've boxed everything in this way of like, this is my identity to look like this. And no, that's horrible to look like that. And what are you thinking? Are you a Neanderthal, like simpleton doing, and it's really just sad. And so I just want to say to end all of this, right? Is that, so all that goes, like, I get it, Lena Dunham. Like, I get you on that. I can't imagine that being a really trying experience and it's just not cool. And further, why are we shaming, period, when you think about it, right? So women, whether it be women shaming or shaming and shaming, I don't know, is this the 70s maybe? Is anything even real anymore? Shaming, women getting shamed the most, let's be honest, but also shaming each other, shaming themselves and their own anatomy, okay, and body parts. But we shame we shame middle-aged, the Elizabeth Hurleys, like middle-aged women who are hot and in bikinis on Instagram, shaming shaming trans people. And listen, I'm vocal about this issue and, I'm not okay with a biological man like competing athletically with a woman perhaps, but if a man wants to transition and be a woman, by all means. Like, why are we so hell-bent on criticizing and critiquing and shaming everybody, right? Like, it's not your business. It's not your business. And it really, like, if we really want to be ahead here, call into the future, if you will. Marty McFly is going to come back to the future and be like, damn, that Taylor spit on the mic. Because when you think about AI and where our entire society is going, guess what? When we have avatars in the metaverse, people are going to be green, blue, rainbow, unicorns, men, women, big titty, maybe a balls one day, maybe a V another day. I don't know. And it doesn't matter. They don't need surgery. They don't need permission. They're going to show up however the high hell they want. And that is exactly what's going to happen. So it's sort of like we're wasting our breath and it's just negative bad vibes. Like, it is just negative juju. But the reason I say this too is because I've been reading up on AI, but also really diving into iconic pop culture. I've been reading like Snow Crash and starting Battlestar Galactica. And this isn't even like, this is now. It is not that far off. So really, what is the point of doing all of this? Because it's just to make ourselves feel better. It's identity politics. And guess what? Soon enough, it's all going to be obsolete anyway. And so everybody just wasted their Twitter finger carpal tunnel, their time, and it's a waste of breath, right? But to cap all of this off, I like to leave you with some words of wisdom here at Talk to Me, Taylor. And so, what better way to wrap all of this up with this? I have a really close friend who recently went to prison, and I asked him, what is the best thing that you learned from that experience? And he just said this, and this is 3 words to live by, sweetie. Mind your business.
Mind your business, that's all. Mind your business.
That's all I have to say. Mind your business. And you know what? I'll see you next time.